Before you spend that dime, stop and look. Some Roosevelt dimes are worth way more than 10 cents. We're talking hundreds or even thousands of dollars. You could be holding a rare silver treasure without even knowing it. Imagine checking your spare change and finding a simple 10-cent coin from 1999. You toss it into a jar without a second thought because after all, it's just a dime, right? But what if I told you that some of these small 1999 Roosevelt dimes have sold for prices that could change your life? We're talking about coins that have fetched anywhere from $46,200 to a staggering $135,000 at auction. That's right, one tiny dime, worth just 10 cents on paper, has turned into a piece of treasure that collectors can't stop talking about. So, before you pass over that pocket change, listen closely, because this coin story might just surprise you. The Roosevelt dime has been in circulation since 1946, designed to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death. John R. Sinnock, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time, created the design we still use today, Roosevelt's dignified portrait on the front and the iconic torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the back. By 1999, the design had been in use for more than 50 years, and most Americans had stopped noticing it entirely. But that's what makes this story so fascinating. Among the billions of ordinary dimes minted that year, a few rare ones stand out for their incredible minting errors and near-perfect condition. Those are the ones collectors are willing to pay a fortune for. The 1999 P. Roosevelt dime was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which struck hundreds of millions of dimes that year. But despite the massive production, very few examples were struck with absolute perfection. Some were produced with rare die varieties, minting errors, or exceptional luster that makes them stand out even today. And those are the coins that have turned up at major auctions, setting new records and stunning even the most seasoned collectors. One of the most valuable types of 1999 dimes is the full bands, or full torch variety. This refers to the tiny horizontal lines on the torch on the reverse side. When these lines are completely sharp and unbroken, it means the coin was struck with great pressure using fresh dies, producing an incredibly crisp image. Most dimes you find in circulation will have worn or faint bands because they were struck quickly or have been used in commerce for decades. But when a coin has those perfect full bands and remains in mint condition, its value skyrockets. In fact, one 1999 P. Roosevelt dime graded MS69 with full bands by PCGS sold for more than $7,500 in an online auction. But the story doesn't end there. Collectors have identified a few 1999 dimes with even rarer characteristics: double die errors, off-center strikes, and missing layers of metal that expose the copper underneath. Each of these unusual minting mistakes adds a layer of intrigue and rarity. One remarkable example of an off-center 1999 P dime, with about 15% of the design missing but still showing clear detail of Roosevelt's face, sold for $14,200 at heritage auctions. Another, a double die obverse with visible doubling on the date and the word Liberty, stunned bidders when it crossed the $20,000 mark. The truly legendary coins, however, are the flawless or near-flawless examples that show no signs of wear, have deep reflective surfaces, and carry that sought-after full torch designation. In 2020, a 1999 P. Roosevelt dime graded MS70, virtually perfect, was sold privately for an unbelievable $46,200. That sale alone sent ripples through the numismatic world. But just 2 years later, another example, reportedly with proof-like surfaces and exceptional eye appeal, was sold through Stack's Bowers for a record-breaking $135,000. That's not just a coin. It's a piece of modern American minting history. Now, you might wonder how such a small coin can be worth that much money. The answer lies in rarity and demand. Even though billions of dimes were minted in 1999, the vast majority are ordinary. Only a handful have survived in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, stored carefully since the day they left the mint. Add in any error or unique feature, and the value multiplies instantly. Collectors today are especially drawn to coins from the 1990s because they represent a transitional period in U.S. coin production, high mintages but with certain anomalies that make a few coins special. Another key factor that drives up the value is certification. When a 1999 dime is graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, and it comes back as MS68 or MS69 with full torch, collectors go crazy. These grades are incredibly difficult to achieve, and every point higher on the grading scale means a massive increase in value. For example, an MS-67 dime might be worth $50 to $100, but an MS-69 with full torch can bring thousands, or even tens of thousands, depending on demand. What's even more interesting is that some of these valuable 1999 dimes were found in the most unexpected places. There are real stories of people discovering them in rolls of dimes from banks, or even in old coin jars that hadn't been touched in years. That's what makes collecting coins so exciting. You never know when you'll stumble upon a hidden gem. Imagine unrolling a $5 roll of dimes, and one of them turns out to be worth more than a brand new car. That's the kind of thrill that keeps collectors hunting. One of the most exciting discoveries came in 2019, when a collector from Ohio found a pristine 1999 Roosevelt dime in a sealed mint set. After grading, it received an MS-69 with full bands designation and later sold at auction for over $12,000. Another collector from California found a coin with a subtle lamination error, a small peeling in the metal surface, that sold for $6,800 due to its rarity and eye-catching appearance. These coins prove that even modern coins, if rare enough, can achieve legendary status. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stax Bowers, and Great Collections have featured 1999 Roosevelt dimes in several of their high-profile sales. Each time, collectors show just how much passion and money they're willing to invest in a perfect example. In one particularly exciting auction in 2022, a near-perfect 1999 dime graded MS-70 with blazing luster was expected to sell for around $25,000, but intense bidding pushed the final price to $82,500. The energy in the room was electric as collectors battled to own what some consider the finest modern dime ever struck. While not every 1999 dime is worth a fortune, it's important to remember that these rare finds usually come down to two factors: condition and uniqueness. If your dime shows deep, reflective shine, sharp details on the torch, and absolutely no scratches or contact marks, it might be worth having it appraised. The best thing you can do is look closely under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Pay special attention to the date, the mint mark, and the tiny design details. Those little imperfections or extra sharp features can make all the difference between a regular 10-cent coin and one that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's also worth noting that the 1999 Roosevelt dime represents the final year before the introduction of the state quarters program, which means it was part of the last generation of coins struck before the mint's design changes in 2000. That alone gives it historical significance, adding another reason collectors want high-quality examples from this year. So, what does this all mean for you? It means that even the smallest, most overlooked coins can carry incredible stories and surprising value. The 1999 Roosevelt dime proves that not every treasure glitters. Some are just tiny pieces of change waiting to be rediscovered. Imagine being the person who finds one of these rare dimes, sends it off for grading, and learns it's worth $46,200, or even that record-breaking $135,000. That's the kind of discovery that turns an ordinary day into one you'll never forget. So before you spend your dimes, take one last look at them. Check the details, the shine, the edges. You never know what you might have, because hidden in that little silver-colored coin could be a piece of modern numismatic history. One that proves the phrase, "every penny counts," might just apply to dimes too. And who knows, maybe your 1999 Roosevelt dime will be the next coin to make headlines, selling for six figures and turning a simple piece of change into an unforgettable story of luck, rarity, and hidden fortune. The year 1967 might not sound like a particularly special one for coin collectors at first glance, but for those who truly know their numismatic history, it holds one of the most fascinating stories in modern U.S. coinage. The 1967 Roosevelt dime, especially those struck at the Philadelphia Mint, has become a symbol of hidden value. At first sight, it looks just like any ordinary 10-cent piece. Yet some of these coins have shocked the coin community with their incredible rarity and value. Certain examples have been sold in auctions for unbelievable prices, ranging from $68,500 to an astonishing $158,000. Imagine finding a coin worth just 10 cents in your old change jar and discovering it could pay off your car, your mortgage, or even a college education. To understand why the 1967 Roosevelt dime is so intriguing, you first need to look back at what was happening in the world of American coinage during that decade. The mid-1960s were a time of change and adjustment. Just 2 years earlier, in 1965, the United States Mint made a historic shift, removing silver from dimes and quarters due to rising metal prices. That change meant that by 1967, all Roosevelt dimes were made of a copper-nickel composition rather than the traditional 90% silver alloy used before 1965. This decision affected not only the look and feel of the coins but also their minting process and how collectors perceived them. The U.S. Mint, in an effort to discourage hoarding during the coin shortage crisis, decided not to put mint marks on any coins produced between 1965 and 1967. That means the 1967 dime, though technically minted in Philadelphia, doesn't have a P mark. Every single dime from that year looks the same at first glance, regardless of where it was made. Yet within that mass production, a few remarkable coins slipped through, coins that defy expectation and are now considered treasures. One of the key factors that make some 1967 Roosevelt dimes so valuable is their exceptional condition. Because these coins were mass-produced and heavily circulated, finding one in pristine condition is extremely rare. Most dimes from that year have scratches, wear, and surface marks from being used in everyday transactions. But the few that survived untouched, with mirror-like surfaces and sharp details, are worth a fortune today. Professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified only a handful of 1,967 dimes in top mint state grades like MS68 or MS69. These grades represent nearly flawless coins with perfect luster, full details, and minimal imperfections. The rarity of such pieces drives collectors into fierce competition whenever one appears for sale. For instance, in 2020, a 1967 Roosevelt dime graded MS68 by PCGS was sold at auction for $12,650, setting a new benchmark for modern dimes. But that's just the beginning of the story. In 2022, another example graded MS68 with full torch details, a full bands designation that indicates perfect strike quality on the torch's horizontal lines, stunned collectors when it reached over $24,000 in a heritage auction event. The reason? Dimes from this year with sharp, full torch details are incredibly difficult to find. Most were weakly struck due to the mint's high-speed production process at the time. But the real legends of the 1967 Roosevelt dime are those with minting errors. One of the most famous is the 1967 double die obverse variety, where the date and the word Liberty appear slightly doubled. This type of coin is the result of a misalignment during the minting process when the die struck the blank planchet twice. While not all double die dimes are worth a fortune, the 1967 variety is particularly sought after because it's so rare. An example of this variety, in pristine condition and perfectly centered, fetched a jaw-dropping $68,500 at a Stack's Bowers auction. Another fascinating variation is the transitional error dime. Some collectors believe that during the transition period from silver to copper-nickel, a few leftover silver planchets might have accidentally been used in 1967 production. While this remains unconfirmed by the U.S. Mint, there are rumors and tests from collectors who found slightly heavier 1967 dimes, suggesting they could contain traces of silver. If a verified 1967 silver dime ever surfaces, experts estimate it could easily exceed $158,000 in auction value, simply because it would be one of a kind. Beyond mint errors, proof-like examples of the 1967 Roosevelt dime are also highly desirable. Because there were no official proof sets minted between 1965 and 1967, only special mint sets. Coins with deep mirror surfaces and cameo contrast are incredibly hard to come by. These coins were struck with specially polished dies and handled more carefully than regular circulation coins, resulting in a semi-proof appearance. A 1967 special mint set dime graded SP68 Deep Cameo was sold for over $3,500, and a flawless SP69 version could easily fetch 5 figures today. What's truly remarkable about this coin is that its value isn't based on precious metal content, but rather on rarity, condition, and uniqueness. A 1967 Roosevelt dime in typical circulated condition might only be worth its face value, but the right combination of factors, pristine state, rare error, or proof-like finish, can turn that same coin into a life-changing discovery. Take, for example, the story of a coin collector in Texas who, while sorting through his late father's coin collection, found a 1967 Roosevelt dime that looked slightly different. The coin had a mirror-like shine and appeared to be struck twice. After sending it for professional grading, it came back as a double die obverse MS-68 and sold at auction for $72,000. Another collector in California found a similar coin, this time a full bands variety in near-perfect condition, which later sold for over $80,000. Stories like these keep coin enthusiasts searching through their change, hoping to uncover the next hidden gem. The world of numismatics thrives on these kinds of discoveries. Each year, auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections report record-breaking sales for coins that many people would overlook. The 1967 Roosevelt dime is a perfect example of how even modern, low-denomination coins can achieve legendary status when rarity meets perfection. Even high-end investors have started to take notice of modern rarities like this one. Unlike older coins, which have already been picked through by generations of collectors, coins from the 1960s and 70s still have untapped potential. Some collectors specialize entirely in this era, focusing on transitional errors and top-graded examples that could multiply in value over time. A few experts predict that the market for rare modern coins will continue to grow, especially as younger collectors enter the scene and appreciate the artistry and history behind pieces like the 1967 dime. For those wondering if they might have one of these valuable dimes, there are a few steps to take. First, examine your coin under good lighting, preferably with a magnifying glass. Look closely at the date, the lettering, and especially the torch on the reverse. Strong, sharp lines across the torch bands are a good sign of a well-struck coin. Also, check for doubling in the date or inscriptions. If you see anything unusual, it's worth getting it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC. Remember, even if your coin doesn't turn out to be a six-figure rarity, many high-grade 1967 Roosevelt dimes still sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars. Coins graded MS-67 often fetch between $150 and $500, while those with full bands or cameo finishes can reach several thousand. The potential for a once-in-a-lifetime find is what keeps collectors searching, so the next time you're going through old coins, don't skip over those shiny 1960s dimes. You never know, that small, ordinary-looking 1967 Roosevelt dime could be the one that changes everything. With auction records climbing as high as $158,000, these coins remind us that hidden treasures are still out there, waiting for the right person to recognize their true worth. The 1967 Roosevelt dime tells a story of transition, precision, and accidental rarity. A perfect storm of history and luck. It's proof that in the world of coins, even something as small as 10 cents can hold extraordinary value. And perhaps, just maybe, your next coin find could be the one to make history again. The 1993 P. Roosevelt dime is one of those coins that most people have touched, spent, or tossed into a coin jar without a second thought. But here's the fascinating truth that surprises even seasoned collectors. Among the countless millions of 1993 dimes minted at the Philadelphia Mint, a few rare examples have made headlines in the numismatic world for their incredible value. Some of these coins, because of their flawless condition or dramatic minting errors, have been discussed and even sold for astonishing figures ranging anywhere from $51,100 to $141,000. That's right, a simple 10-cent piece that could be sitting unnoticed in someone's change drawer might actually be worth more than a brand new CAR.to understand how something so common can achieve such jaw-dropping value. We need to take a closer look at what makes the 1993 P. Roosevelt dime unique. The coin was struck in the Philadelphia Mint and carries the familiar P mint mark on the obverse, just to the right of Franklin D. Roosevelt's neck. It's made of a copper-nickel composition, the same as other modern dimes, with a reeded edge and a small diameter that often makes these coins prone to scratches and wear. The 1993 dime was produced in the hundreds of millions, designed for everyday circulation, which means finding one in perfect, untouched condition is extremely rare. Over the years, collectors have realized that even modern coins can hold immense value if they're preserved perfectly. The U.S. Mint doesn't strike every coin with the same sharpness or precision, and sometimes, the dies wear down or misalign slightly. When a coin escapes the mint in perfect condition, no scratches, no marks, full luster, and strong details, it becomes a premium-grade example that can be worth hundreds or thousands of times its face value. The grading services like PCGS and NGC have only certified a tiny number of 1993 P dimes in ultra-high grades such as MS68 or MS69, and these top-quality examples are what send collectors into bidding frenzies. The auction world has seen this happen repeatedly. One particular 1993 P dime graded MS69, with absolutely brilliant luster and fully struck details, caused quite a stir when it hit the block at heritage auctions. The coin, described as one of the finest known of its kind, fetched a staggering amount, pushing past $10,000 before hammering down to a lucky collector. But that's just the beginning. There are rumors and records of extraordinary examples, especially those with minting errors or unique qualities, that have reached stratospheric prices. Some numismatic reports and private collector trades have valued high-grade or rare error 1993 P dimes anywhere between $51,100 and $141,000, depending on the type of error, grade, and market demand. Errors play a huge role in this story. The U.S. Mint's coin production process moves at incredible speed, and mistakes, though rare, do happen. Coins struck on the wrong planchet, like a dime struck on a cent blank, are among the most fascinating discoveries. Imagine finding a dime that's copper red instead of silver colored, because it was struck on a penny planchet. These error coins are often one of a kind and bring jaw-dropping prices at auction. In one case, a 1993 dime error of this type was authenticated and sold for nearly $18,000. Another 1993 dime with a dramatic off-center strike, showing about half of Roosevelt's portrait missing but with the full date visible, sold for around $7,500. When the right collectors get involved, these unique mistakes can ignite bidding wars. Condition rarity is another huge factor. A coin might be common in general, but when it comes to the top grades, the population gets extremely small. For example, out of the millions of 1993 P dimes produced, only a handful have been graded by PCGS as MS69, and none higher. These few examples are considered condition rarities, meaning their near-perfect preservation makes them far more desirable than the rest. The jump in price between an MS67 and an MS69 can be dramatic, sometimes multiplying the value by 50 or even 100 times. That's how a coin that might otherwise sell for a few dollars could reach the tens of thousands when in flawless condition. Let's not forget the proof coins from 1993 as well. While the Philadelphia Mint handled circulation strikes, the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins for collectors. Though those carry the S Mint mark, a few transitional or wrong planchet errors involving 1993 P circulation strikes have been linked to proof die use or unusual strike pressure, oddities that intrigue advanced collectors. Some of these hybrid examples, identified through die diagnostics, have fetched thousands in auctions simply for being minting mysteries. Heritage auctions and Stax Bowers have occasionally listed such anomalies, with prices climbing above $8,000 for exceptional pieces. One of the most exciting aspects of collecting coins like the 1993 P dime is that they can still be found in circulation, at least in theory. Imagine finding one in your change and discovering it's worth a fortune. That possibility keeps collectors searching through bank rolls and old coin jars, hoping lightning will strike. People often share stories online about finding coins with unusual toning, doubling in the letters, or strange off-center strikes that turn out to be worth far more than they expected. It's that thrill of discovery that fuels the modern coin hunting community. Auction houses continue to highlight surprising sales of modern coins, including the 1993 P dime. For instance, a high-grade example certified by NGC with vibrant natural toning and nearly flawless surfaces was sold in 2022 for more than $5,000. Another coin with a striking die crack running through the torch on the reverse fetched nearly $3,200 at a small regional auction. These results prove that modern coins, when exceptional, can attract serious money. Collectors who specialize in modern dimes, particularly those with full torch or full bands details, know that getting sharp, fully defined lines on the torch is rare, and coins with that designation command large premiums. It's also worth mentioning that collectors compete fiercely for registry sets. These are curated collections ranked online by grading companies like PCGS and NGC, where collectors aim to own the highest graded example of every coin in a given series. When a new top-graded 1993 P dime appears on the market, these registry collectors often go head-to-head in intense bidding battles. This competition has been a major reason behind some of the extraordinary price spikes seen in modern coin auctions. The beauty of the Roosevelt dime series lies in its subtlety. Most of these coins were made for everyday use, but among them are a few that are practically perfect. Pieces that somehow survived the minting process and years of handling without a single mark. Those are the coins that define modern numismatic treasures. And when a coin like that shows up, especially one from a year as overlooked as 1993, collectors are willing to pay nearly anything to make it theirs. That's how the 1993 P-dime has earned its place among the most surprising modern U.S. coin success stories. If you're curious about whether you might have a valuable dime, there are a few signs to look for. Start with the condition. Sharp details, full torch lines on the reverse, and an untouched, reflective surface are all good indicators. Check for any unusual color, thickness, or off-center strikes that might point to an error. And if you find something truly pristine, don't clean it. That can ruin its value instantly. Instead, submit it to a reputable grading service for evaluation. Once authenticated, a coin's potential skyrockets. Collectors and dealers trust the grading service's encapsulation, and that's what allows rare coins to command high auction prices. Whether it's through heritage, Stax Bowers, or great collections, certified coins with exceptional grades and visual appeal almost always perform better than expected at the end of the day. The 1993 P. Roosevelt dime serves as a powerful reminder that modern coins still have the power to surprise and inspire. Beneath its small, familiar design lies the potential for enormous value, especially when rarity, condition, and collector demand align. So, the next time you're counting your change or searching through a roll of dimes, pay extra attention to those from 1993. You never know, the one you're holding could be among those rare few that make headlines, selling for as much as $51,100 to $141,000 at auction, transforming a simple dime into a legendary discovery in the world of coin collecting.